Hey, Type Weekend. My name is Tonya Meyrick. I'm a senior lecturer in design at Deakin University in Geelong, just outside Melbourne in Australia. My talk today is called Likewise, Same, Similar, Typeface Differentiation in Cultural Festival Identities. So the talk today is drawn from my doctoral studies, and I'm sharing a key aspect of the research which I anticipate will resonate with our audiences. So studies into systems of branding demonstrate that brands operate through the production of difference, and that brands have only value in their difference and distinctiveness from other brands. But then why are so many brands and sector brands similar? Adopting a position that goods as commodities are all alike, Lash and Lurie maintain that that brands are distinguishable only by the quantity of money for which they exchange, and that brands have value only in that difference, and it's their distinctiveness from other brands. So when branding moves into service, it seeks a distinct personality, and the distinct personality enables people to differentiate one brand from another. So in support of this, sociologist Celia Lurie maintains goods as commodities are all alike, with brand value in distinctiveness. So therefore, the notion of difference or brand differentiation, it's quite critical, and it's really critically important for brands. So with brand identity systems for diverse market sectors such as pharmacies, banking, theatres, airlines and financial brands so similar, one queries how differences then actively mediated. Indeed, in 2008, Trout and Rivkin reported that the company Copernicus researched 340 commercials shown in American prime time, and they identified and differentiated brand messaging in only 7% of those advertisements. So differentiation exists, according to the authors Trout and Rivkin, on the basis of a product or a service actually owning values, or real, perceived, they might be rational or emotional, and they occupy a real place in the consumer's mind, beyond the consumer just being aware of them. So it's in this fickle mind of the consumer where the values and differences are situated. So Pasikoff, who's the founder of Brand Keys Incorporated, which is a loyalty and engagement research company, says that more and more companies are having problems differentiating themselves from competitors. He says that the engineering movement of the last 2 decades of the 20th century pretty much guarantees that companies that actually make it to the 21st century were going to be virtually indistinguishable from one another. So consequently, although noted by brand marketing and advertisers that difference is crucial, it is rarely attained. So what did I do? Well, typography is an overlooked yet essential element of cultural festival identities, but I don't have to tell you that. I'll now present a summary of empirical examples from a controlled study of 260 festival identities, which I surveyed from a pool of over 5,408 from 15 English-speaking countries. So the festivals occurred between 2016 and 2018, and the countries include Australia, Ireland, New Zealand, Canada, the USA, UK, Jamaica, Bahamas, Belize, Barbados, Trinidad, Tobago, St Kitts, Nevis and St Lucia. And you can see a beautiful array on the screen here. The gorgeous Kapiti Coast Festival in New Zealand. We've got Bestival in the UK, the Brisbane Festival in Australia. We've got the Cygnet Folk Festival in Tasmania, Cave City Watermelon Festival, and there's some really vibrant results. And so what I did my method was I employed a case study method involving a content analysis that was engaged to really allow for quite a deep understanding of what was happening. So the content analysis is based on contemporary typeface classification examples to differentiate or to subdivide the typefaces used in all of these identities, because I really wanted to find out what was being used. And that informed the case study, which was more qualitative. And so the case study engaged festival directors, designers of festivals, publicity officers, media officers in semi-structured interviews to sort of find out why they were using these specific typefaces. So a case study, and this is a graphic showing how many festival examples I got from each of the countries. And I used randomizer.org just to kind of eliminate the bias that I would have about wanting to choose festivals that I want to choose. So this is Bevington and Chong's typeface classification system. This was published in an article in 2013. And you can see their classification system divides all typefaces into either display above the line or text below the line. So below the line in text, their typeface classification system shows sans serif, serif and slab serif as the three main categories of typefaces. And they've broken them into geometric, I can draw on the screen, into geometric, into contemporary, into humanist for the slab serif. And then for serif, you can see that they have worked on a modernist, transitional, old style, and for slab serif, geometric, contemporary and humanist. Under the display category, they've broken them into black letter, topical and freehand. So you can see there that black letters cursive, rotunda and textura, topicals style, place and time referencing, and freehands into brush, cursive and script. So what I did is I processed all of these festival identities to find out what was being used. And the results were really quite interesting. I will now show you what I found. Out of the 260 brand marks that I surveyed, the findings revealed that the typefaces used in the festival identities were found to reside mostly, and that's a 64% mostly, in Bevington and Chong's text category. So that incorporates serif, sans serif and slab serif, so all of the sections below the line. So this was revealed in 64.6% of the cultural festival identities across the world in English-speaking countries. And then 35% resided in the display categories. So this was really quite a bit of a surprise to me. I didn't expect that. And so I looked further into the breakdown of these typeface attributes. And I came up with more information. So of the text category, and you can see that on the right here, left, text category, sans serif typefaces was 67% found to be exhibited in these festival identities next to serif and slab. And then over at display, topical typefaces were the majority of display typefaces, and then freehand. But of course the text typefaces were found in almost 65% of all typeface examples. And so that was really, really rather interesting to find out why. So I looked deeper into this and discovered that looking into that sans serif and serif, slab serif breakdown, contemporary sans serif typefaces were found to exist in over 50% of all examples. 38% resided in the geometric classifications, with the remaining amount in the humanist. So that was a phenomenal finding. Some serif typefaces were discovered and some slab serifs as well. However, the majority of all typefaces that were found resided in text, sans serif and contemporary sans serif. Wow, super interesting, right? I know, for nerds like us, we absolutely love this. So I thought, that's just bizarre. Let's look a little bit deeper into this. So why is contemporary sans serif typefaces the most frequently used typefaces? Well, they're deployed across the spectrum of all possible festivals. Like this could be a yoga festival, an arts festival, a shrimp festival, could be a watermelon festival, it could be a music festival, film, nature, art, sport, feminism, children's. There was really no end to the sort of festival that these typefaces were being applied in. And the finding of similarity in typography use was really across this large corpus of material. It was really very interesting. So it raised the question, why is the use of contemporary sans serif typefaces so prevalent? Well, what really is the difference? With over 250,000, and we know there's more, typefaces available for use, why are festivals using a typeface that resided in one classification? Well, pursuing this inquiry launched interviews, semi-structured interviews and e-surveys. And I asked directors, festival directors, designers and producers for their feedback about my findings. And through these methods, I discovered a few other interesting facts to sort of add to my research. From 9 hours of interviews and getting 17 back from my 260 e-surveys, the answer of why was that contemporary sans serif typefaces were used because they were perceived to attract audiences and they were seen as universally appealing, and they signified, and the term that I discovered, differential conditioning. So if then comparable visual and typographic attributes are shared, how do brands signify difference? Through brand identity. It's clearly cited as a distinction to brands, and we know that scholars attest that the description, identification and creation of value is the most important function of a brand mark. Yet if the sector's identities are so visually and typographically similar, what's the difference? As noted above, only 7% of those 340 primetime ads demonstrate difference. So companies are often virtually indistinguishable from each other. And indeed, that was proving to be the case in cultural festival identities. So it's well known that differentiation is an avenue of interest for many, and it brings together multiple threads about how we can research design and what provides an avenue for greater creation of value. So corporate branding specialists Vella and Melloware acquiesce, stating that the identity provides managers with a strategic resource for building and for delivering value among employees, and above consequently employee retentions, recruitment and loyalty. And over time, these sorts of attributes endure, become strong, and they fuel profitability, growth and competitive advantage. So that's the brand value that may speak and ensure differentiation. So this pragmatic reflection, however, is tempered by Per Mollerup, who frames that differential conditioning is organisations use their design position to position themselves in a conceptual relationship with competitors, and that means that they share key visual and typographic attributes, and this is really achieved by organisations' identity implicitly defined by the visual identity of other companies. It's differentially conditioned by a trade convergence. So we can often see this and how this has happened over the years through motifs in particular industries. And you remember the examples I showed earlier of airline companies, of banking brands. So here you can see that differentially conditioned identities are apparent through the use of specific industries and particular motifs. For example, snakes have been used for centuries as symbols of worship, of love and health and medicine, and repetitive use of this symbol enables the association of the symbol with medicine and pharmacy. And it's the same here in drama through theatre masks, and also through the use of snakes, as you can see on the screen. So likewise, to be same and to be similar in attaining a place next to or near your competitors. So sharing attributes in the visual identity means residing in the stratosphere of other brands. And this can be thought of as exchanging meaning or engaging with the cultural codes of typefaces. So meaning exchange is possible in this world as they're deployed to specific groups and individuals in society. And it's really about sharing those goals and those attributes of a predetermined sign, as you can see through the lineage of different, say, pharmacy brands here. So we consider this as a transitivity of signs, whereby there's an active yet symbolic exchange of meaning and knowledge from one sign to another. So it's highlighting that there's strength in ensuring convergence of a sector brand, and that ensures that they inhabit a space near to or close to another. So meaning exchange is possible, and it's really the strength to ensure that convergence about attributes flowing from one to another. So we know that typography performs a crucial role in branding beyond its familiar utilitarian value, and this should include consideration of both value and meaning value, use value and meaning value. or what I like to term the type value construct. This is a key term of a brand identity, and I think that it performs in developing an organisation or a company's market position, and it shouldn't be diluted. The importance of a brand identity to secure and sustain competitive advantage, we know, is key. The importance should be placed on the visuals of any brand, and in this context, brand identity is often the first and foremost and most prominent constituent of the visuals for any organisation. However, as clearly defined by critique of differentiation of brands, the more powerful the perceived value of these brands in the minds of the consumer, the stronger a brand will be in the market. So, brand value should speak to differentiation. What about homogenization? Well, the findings highlight that to a certain extent there is homogenization of typefaces seen across the festival scape. So this may well be attributed to several factors, including the need for a modular digital first system where alignments with templates or interfaces are key, or attributed to the results of globalization, where the potential to emphasise cultural difference lays idle for the superseding or perceived universal voice. It's the standardisation which may be seen as a reach for the less is more mantra, which pervades much contemporary design outputs. However, all this relates to thinking about how a competitor might render themselves different in the market and outside the pack. So reflecting on the findings, it becomes evident that using a font with personality, or even if only subtle, is the way to go. So you've got to be that disruptor. And indeed, one of my lecturers in art school said, if you've seen it before, don't do it again. And indeed, one of the designers I spoke to regarding their brand identity for festivals had noted to me that the following year they were going to be engaging the black letter typeface. Well, this festival has a really strong dedicated audience, and it has no need to be near to or next to competitors, so it can be that disruptor. But can smaller festivals launch such bold moves? Well, time will tell. So in conclusion, the findings presented today in the paper for Type Weekend sustain typography functions as a culturally mediated sign and festival identity. And it really highlights that typography is part of a wider social and cultural system. The findings provide a sort of synchronic snapshot of a significant contemporary design artifact, providing designers, marketers, scholars, students, anyone working with typography as a portrait of the times. So for the findings, it reveals untapped potential when designing for this rich industry sector. Have a great Type Weekend.